What is up everyone, I'm Skratch, welcome to another Diablo Immortal video. Today we're going to talk about classes, we're gonna try to rank them in a tier list. We have a couple of days left till the launch date, guys. Everybody's getting pretty excited, but a lot of people, they cannot decide with the class yet. Some of you guys wanna play solo, some of you guys wanna play in groups. You want to know which one is better for PvP, which one is better for PvE. So hopefully this video will bring some clarification and will help you decide with your class. A couple of things that I want to cover before we jump over to talk about classes, guys, which could potentially change on release. We had some data mine information that showed small tweaks, nothing too major, so nothing that will actually make us change our opinions on classes. Yesterday, I watched an interview with Wyatt Chang, which is the game director, and he was asked if they're planning to buff the wizard. Well, his answer clearly stated that they are constantly monitoring the classes. With the launch, they will be able to have a massive sample and see if millions of people are picking a class and nobody picks the other class, for example, and they will quickly jump in and adjust it if necessary. When you're picking your class, guys, I feel like you should think about it. How do you want to play the game? You shouldn't think about which one is the best class. They're pretty well balanced, right? Some of them, they're harder to play. Some of them, they require you to be more engaged, to constantly be on there and press the buttons, combo skills, etc. Some of them are easier to play. So it really depends on how exactly you want to play. The main thing that you should probably consider is which one of these classes is better at PvE, which one is better at PvP. The one thing to keep in mind is that if one of the classes is too good at something, you do have the risk of getting a nerf at some point, or have the risk of getting a buff at some point for the other class, respectively, you know? So you gotta take all this in consideration, but let's jump into it and hopefully we're gonna help you decide on which class to pick today. First, I wanna talk about each class for a bit. Then at the end, we're going to bring a spreadsheet with grades to help us understand everything a bit better. So let's start with the first class, the Barbarian, which will probably be the most used class in the entire game. It definitely feels like it's the fans' favorite. This is a melee class and it's one of the most user-friendly, especially for new people coming to the game. They have great AoE attacks, which makes them amazing at leveling up and farming in general, regardless if you play solo or with a team. You can hoard enemies and chain massacre kills for a huge XP boost, much easier than with other classes. The Barbarian is a close combat character, always surrounded by danger and constantly taking damage. Luckily, he has many crowd control options that allow him to keep the enemies in line. He is at a higher risk of taking tons of damage from stronger enemies, but thankfully, the Barbarian has a great movement speed, and once you get the right gear for him, he can offer some amazing group buffs like increased speed or increased damage to your entire squad. This makes him a valuable member for any team. In terms of PvP, he might be the best class for it. He has the Whirlwind skill, which deals tons of damage and seizes the opponents, and he has the Undying Rage skill, which activates when taking fatal damage and prevents you from dying. A very solid skill for PvP, like is the only class to have something like this. Just imagine, somebody comes to kill you and you're just not dying. All that damage just goes away and you're able to start slamming the enemies. He doesn't have a great single target damage though, and he has pretty long cooldown, so you might want to keep an eye on that. Moving over to the next one, the Crusader, another melee class with amazing AoE attacks, very fast movement, especially when using the draw and quarter skill, making them great at leveling up and soloing content. They are great scouts because of their fast movement, which makes them a must in every single team if you want to be efficient, and mainly because of the buffs that they're bringing to the table. He has very good defensive buffs that can block damage and make your team invincible for a short period of time, and if that's not enough, he can bring more buffs to the team like the Holy Banner, which will increase the crit rate to 100% for the entire squad, helping you to melt your opponent. In PvP, they are great at hunting down enemies because of their fast movement and crowd control skills. They are one of the best classes in the entire game, but they are relying a bit too much on the draw and quarter skill, which can put them in a difficult situation when it's on cooldown, regardless if you're talking about PvE or PvP. Moving over to the Demon Hunter, which is a ranged class, they have the highest single target damage in the entire game, making them huge for PvE, They are pretty good at soloing and are a must in any team if you want to speedrun content with your crew. They are not that amazing at PvP though, because they are dependable of tanks to cover them, and they don't have any crowd control debuffs whatsoever, plus they are the squishiest class in the game. And another thing to keep in mind is, if you missed your shot, mamma mia, you're in trouble. A great thing about the Demon Hunters though, is that they can move and auto shoot, allowing them to find a better positioning and stay out of harm. One of their best skills is multi-shot. The Demon Hunter is obliterating enemies with this skill, guys, and he looks so awesome when he's actually doing it. The animations, they're absolutely stunning. But like any other class, they're not perfect either. Moving over to the Monk, another melee class, they are using their fists as their main weapons. They have some of the best movement in the game because they are extremely fast, allowing them to quickly escape out of harm. They can constantly dash around the map, allowing them to quickly engage and disengage in PvP. He's doing a decent job at soloing content because of his crowd control skills and support buffs, but unfortunately, he doesn't have the best damage and he doesn't have a huge variety of builds. The Exploding Palm deals a good damage, but nothing as spectacular as the other classes. They offer the best group support in the game, so having one in your warband is definitely not a bad idea at all. Their skills require you to combo them in order to make the most out of them, so it's not very beginner friendly. But the good part about the Monk is that they have short cooldowns, so you can quickly recover. Moving over to the Necromancer, another fan's favorite, a ranged class. If you want to control the undead and summon them on the battlefield, this might be the class for you. They have great AoE and single target damage, making them one of the best solo class in the entire game. They have great crowd control and group support skills, making them a versatile class, allowing them to fill any role on the battlefield. So regardless of what warband you guys have, a Necromancer is always welcome. They are probably the most beginner friendly class in the game, so summon your undead pets and let the party begin. In PvP, the Necromancer is great because of his stun abilities, but unfortunately he has short range attacks, so that can put you in the harm's way, and on top of it, he doesn't have the best mobility, especially if you prioritize a damage build. Moving over to the last one, the Wizard, which is another ranged class. This is going to be my main in Diablo Immortal, guys. I'm gonna make a video tomorrow to explain everything, kind of like share my ideas with you. They're saying that is the hardest class, is the worst class, etc. I'm pretty sure it's not as bad as people make it sound. Now, the Wizard has great AoE damage and amazing crowd control skills. This is not a beginner-friendly class and is considered the most difficult class in the game since it requires you to combo their spells in order to maximize the damage. They have long and short range skills that allow you to build a wizard after your own playstyle. The Black Hole can group tons of enemies together so you can annihilate them with your spells. Their movement is amazing. They can teleport from point to point, allowing them to quickly escape if they are in trouble. Unfortunately, they are not great at soloing content, which is fine by me because I'm not planning to play solo. They can be amazing in group plays because of their strong AoE damage. In terms of PvP, the Wizard can have a variety of builds. He has insane crowd control skills, extremely fast movement, and decent damage, allowing you to play him however you like. They have pretty long cooldowns though, so if you missed your shot, you might want to make sure you save the teleport just so you can escape if needed. Now, I'm a PvP fan. I feel like Wizard is kind of like fitting in with my playstyle the most out of all the classes. They might buff a bit the class at some point depending on how underwhelming it performs, but for the moment I'm gonna stick with the Wizard, and if I don't enjoy it down the line I can always change it. Now this right here, guys, is our Aftershock spreadsheet. I modified a couple of things after my own personal opinion. This was made by a group of people, so big shout out to everyone. And another thing to keep in mind, we won't have to look at spreadsheets for much longer, guys. Our website should be ready in the next couple of days. We're gonna have tons of guides, tons of tools to get you prepared for Diablo Immortal, guys, so make sure you keep an eye on it, aftershock.com. We're not gonna cover every single thing from this list because I feel like only a few things are key to help you decide which class fits your playstyle the most. So we're gonna focus on solo play, leveling, PvP, beginner friendly, and damage, right? Some people will play solo, some people will play in groups. Now, if you're not one of those players that is like, I want to be on the leaderboard, I want to be the most competitive person, I want to be number one, you don't have to stress about most of these things anyway. Every single class can solo content, every single class can do PvP. Every single class can be tons of fun. You gotta pick the one that you like the most. That should be your mindset, you know? Starting with the solo play, we have the Barbarian at 9 out of 10. He deals tons of damage, amazing abilities. We have the Crusader at 7 out of 10. We have the Demon Hunter at 9 out of 10. The Necromancer is the ultimate solo class in the entire game. The best solo class. So if you're a solo player and you like to summon pets, this might be a pretty good class for you. The Wizard is kind of like the worst at soloing content. The Monk is a bit better than the Wizard, having him at 5 out of 10. Moving over to leveling, guys, if you're not one of those hardcore players that are looking to be on the leaderboards, finish worlds first and do all sort of voodoo, mojo, jojo magic, you don't have to worry about it. Each one of the classes will level up pretty much the same. Some of them will slightly level up faster, but if you're putting in the time, you're still gonna level up as fast. And if you're playing in groups, the more chain massacre kills you're doing, the more XP you're getting. The whole thing that matters with the leveling up is how much you're playing the game and how efficient you're playing the game in order to level up. So this part right here, honestly, is not something that is gonna make or break a class, okay? In terms of PvP, it is a bit different, right? So we have the Barbarian at 10 out of 10. He is the ultimate killing machine, guys. When you see a Barbarian in PvP, just run away because he is going to destroy you. The Crusader, he is 9 out of 10. Again, a very solid class, very good mobility and very good crowd control skills. The Demon Hunter, he's a 5 out of 10. He's a pretty squishy class, right? He doesn't have the best movement and he requires other classes to tank the front for him. Now, if you manage to land your shots, you can do magic, so don't worry about it. If you're a badass Demon Hunter, you're gonna do fine in PvP as well. Moving over to the Necromancer, he's a 7 out of 10. A pretty good class for PvP, good crowd control skills, and he can land a bit of damage too. The Wizard is a 8 out of 10. I'm definitely looking forward to test this better and take that Wizard to its max potential. The Monk is a 9 out of 10. He's a pretty solid class overall, the Monk. Now, in terms of beginner friendly, this is very important for tons of people because so many new players will start playing Diablo. And you know why? Because it's a mobile game. You'll be surprised to see that, but you're gonna see millions of people that never touched the Diablo game playing this. So, Barbarian is a 9 out of 10. The Crusader is a bit harder to play, so he's a 6 out of 10. The Demon Hunter requires skill shots, so he's a 8 out of 10. The Necromancer is a 10 out of 10. He's easier to play, how I mentioned before, so you might want to consider in sticking in with the Necromancer or with the Barbarian. The Wizard is a 2 out of 10 because he requires tons of comboing with their spells and everything, so you gotta be really, really on point with the Wizard. The Monk is a 5 out of 10. Again, the Monk requires tons of combos as well in order to maximize the damage. And the last thing that I want to cover right here, guys, support, you can actually read that for yourself, but I want to talk a bit about the damage, right? So the Barbarian has a 7 out of 10. Don't get discouraged by it. 7 is still pretty good. He deals tons of damage as well. The Crusader has a 5 out of 10, even though he has one of the best AoE skill in the entire game. The Demon Hunter has a 10 out of 10. He deals so much single target damage. It's out of this world how much damage he can actually deal. And even with the primary attack, you can actually equip different legendary weapons and stuff like this to get better damage for him. The Necromancer is a 6 out of 10. His damage is not like insane, but he can actually do pretty good damage. AoE and single target, a good thing to keep in mind. The Wizard is a 9 out of 10. He has a very solid AoE damage. And then we have the Monk with a 6 out of 10. I feel like the Crusader should be a bit better than the Monk, but that's something that we're gonna have to see for ourselves, testing the game. So if you're kind of looking at the overall score, guys, we have the Barbarian with 8.39, Crusader 8.38, the Demon Hunter 8.42, the Necromancer 8.37, which I feel like the Necromancer probably, if you just think around overall, just don't put in the most hardcore players. I feel like the Necromancer should be ranked the highest, then the Barbarian, then the Crusader, then the Demon Hunter, Monk, and Wizard. That would be kind of like my way to go. And they are pretty close. If you're just paying attention right here, they are very, very close. And I feel like support and other things kind of like affect them a bit here on the grades. But overall, is not a wrong thing to look at, you know? So if you want to have the best PvE character in terms of soloing, in terms of doing damage and stuff, probably you might want to stick with a Demon Hunter, a Necromancer, a Barbarian. In terms of PvP, you might want to go with the Barbarian, you might want to go with the Crusader, or if you are really up for that crazy challenge, you might want to take a Wizard, you know? I'm personally going to stick with the Wizard, guys. I'm going to make a video tomorrow to go more into detail. But that was all for this video. Hopefully it gave you guys kind of like an idea. It helped you out a bit to decide on what class to pick. If you enjoyed the content, smash that like button, subscribe, click on that bell and turn on all notifications to make sure you won't be missing out on any of the future videos. Appreciate all of you guys watching. Much love, and I'll catch you all soon in the next one. Peace.